All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Kicking It with the Belt Guy. It's me, Zain. We've got people in the room. We got a special guest today who, I don't know, we'll see where his last interview was, if ever. Maybe this one's the first one. I have no idea, but we'll find out. But we're going to get to know Marshall a little bit. And then from there, we're just going to do what we always do every week, where we're going to get his takes. We're going to get to know the individual. We're just going to have a good time. So no need for any delays. Let's just bring Marshall through and hear right from him who he is and what he's about.
Yo, what's going on, brother?
What's going on, man? Appreciate you coming through. Appreciate you just being here. We got people in the room, and people were excited about this. So I'm gonna assume, you don't do a lot of these, and on top of that, I know you have a very big YouTube following. I would say your YouTube following is probably larger than your Twitter following. Is that a fair statement?
For sure.
Yeah, because you're very, very big on YouTube. So I got a couple of. I'm excited about this. How'd you get Marshall? And I was like, I just asked, and I just happened to be lucky. Shout out to everybody shouting out my beard. I'm working on it. It's an ongoing thing. I need something like massive down here. I don't know how much my wife likes it. My kids like it. But yeah, it's going out there. But shout out everyone, shout out my beard. But more importantly, everyone's here for Marshall, not my beard. So appreciate everybody being in the room. But let's just get on to it. Marshall, how are you first and foremost?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Long day at work, but we're back at the crib and we're just talking Giants football, and it's one of my favorite things to do.
Yeah. So what do you do?
So I work for this company called Chat Sports. We're a digital media company. We're a sports network. We cover the NBA, NFL, college football, and we're a YouTube-based sports network. I work in Dallas. The channels that I cover the New York Giants and the New York Knicks. So got pretty lucky there. Grew up a Giants and Knicks fan, and now I get to get my bills paid by talking about the Giants and Knicks every day. I'm pretty blessed, man. I really am.
Yeah, you're living the dream. So from that standpoint, you said you work for a company or in Dallas. Are you physically in Texas? Because I believe you are. And Is that where you've always been? Did you relocate? Tell me a little bit about growing up and where did the New York sports come from?
Yeah, so I was born on Long Island. Only lived there for like a year and a half, though. My dad's a New Yorker, 35 years, born and raised. I have an older brother who's 5 years older than me. Obviously, he lived there for 6.5 years. And then my dad kind of had to make a move and moved to Houston to make his wife, aka my mother, happy. So moved down to Houston. Born in New York. I'm raised in Houston, but I'm 28 years old. And when I was growing up, there were no Houston Texans. And at my house growing up every Sunday, it was my dad on the grill at 9 a.m. getting ready, drinking, getting ready for Giants games. So probably like every Giants fan out there, you're kind of born into this. You don't really get a choice of doing anything. I remember when I would get in trouble as a kid, it'd be like, man, I'm going to root for the Red Sox or the Cowboys to stick it to my dad. But I never actually carried through with that. Giants, Knicks, and Yankees. Those are my three squads. Not so much the Yankees. I like watching them, but I'm really just Giants and Knicks at this point.
Okay, perfect. Because again, this is always about the people. So if a comment comes up, I always share it. Because again, this is more about you than me. So Becca wants to know, since you mentioned your company, does your company have a Twitter? If so, make sure you hit the plug so she knows where to go.
Yeah, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, just Chat Sports, CHAT space sports. We cover about 24, 25 NFL teams up to this point, probably 9, 10 NBA channels. Our main Chat Sports channel, which covers all, generic news, NFL, NBA, that's up to almost 360,000 subscribers. I started working for the company in January of 2021. I graduated college in 2020 in Dallas. So I moved from Houston to Dallas to go to school. And then I just started looking for a job. I went to the University of North Texas for broadcast journalism. I always wanted to work in sports media. And I was lucky enough for my pops to always believe in me and help me achieve my dreams of doing so. And 7-8 months after I graduated, I found Chat Sports on Indeed.com. I applied a couple of times. They didn't hire me the first couple of times. I'll let them know that. But they finally did.
Sure.
And I started out, like when I got going at Chat Sports, there was no Giants channel and there was no Knicks channel. They had been a company for multiple years at that point, but outside of the CEO and the COO, I was the fifth employee. So there were 7 of us,
Oh
but
wow,
I was
gotcha.
the fifth employee, and now we're up to 24 employees 2.5 years later. So we're growing extremely fast, and it's awesome. I get to go to work every day and talk about my 2 squads.
Soon to be 25 employees when I put in my resume.
That's right. That's right.
See how that goes. But you brought up an interesting point. Let's navigate on that, right? You're 28. You said, I'm happy and grateful. I'm paraphrasing here that my father was able to believe in me and doing all that. Now, as a parent of 2 boys, tell me a little bit about that dynamic as a child now growing into a parent. What did you take away from that, from your father per se, right? That makes you say that statement that, you know what, I'm glad he supported me, whatever the case may be, to get here. What was that dynamic like?
It's pretty funny. I'm honestly getting chills thinking about it because I'm so freaking blessed. But growing up, man, we were a sports household. I remember one time when I was in 6th or 7th grade, my dad literally told me, focus on sports. School will be okay. You'll be all right with school, but just focus on sports. My dad was my little league coach, pee-wee football, basketball coach. I started playing tackle football when I was 5 years old. But I say all that to say is when I got to high school, and my dad always said, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. And he said he would always believe in me. If I had a dream, he would do everything I could to chase it. Because I remember when I was like 10 years old, we would always be watching sports games, and then, Sports Center would come on after, and I would always ask him, how do you get to be on Sports Center? And he told me, well, you got to go to Syracuse. That was always his first response. I wasn't smart enough to get into Syracuse, obviously, but he just always supported me, man. And just believing in me. And trust me, I gave him plenty of reasons to stop believing in me. Being a dumb teenager, knucklehead, getting into trouble, I did all that stuff. But his support never wavered. And that I think that's what got me here to this day. I wanted to prove him right at one point. It hit me in the face one day because I had a long journey. Like, I'm 28 years old. I graduated college in 2020. I graduated high school in 2013. There's 7 years of gap there. When I graduated high school, I went and played small NAIA football, which is like D3 football, if you've never heard of it, for 6 months. And then after that, I had got sick. I lost a whole lot of weight. I actually have Crohn's disease. I don't know if anyone.
Ooh, that's rough. Yeah, I am aware, and I know people in my family had that combination of obviously, IBS, Crohn's, kind of same family, but different variations. So yeah, I am. That's tough, man. That is rough.
So that started. I got diagnosed with that kind of my senior year of high school, but it didn't really hit me until my second semester, freshman year of college. So then I moved back home, and I kind of took a year or 2 off of school to kind of just get my health right, because I was in and out of the hospital for really 14, 16 months. Then I went back to junior college, got my, whatever you call it, the little 2-year degree, associate's degree or whatever. And then I went to University of Texas and graduated. And it was rough because I graduated in May of 2020. That was right when COVID was getting started. Country was getting shut down. Nobody.
That was like what, the second month? Because March, I think it was March of 20 when things started. Like, all right, we need to start going into lockdowns.
Yeah, and I just couldn't. I couldn't find a job. Like, no one was hiring. So from May to like August, I was like reffing flag football, just trying to make any sort of type of money. And my parents at the time were helping me out with my apartment, but my lease ended in January. And they're like, look, we love you. We'll always support you. But if you can't find a job up there by January, you're going to have to move home. And I was like, all right, that's 100% fair. I can't rebuke that at all. And luckily I found Chat Sports and I've been there the rest of my time. I guess I kind of wandered off. But what I would say is having a parent that believes in you and has confidence in you to chase your dream and pushes you to chase your dreams, man, it makes me, whenever I do have kids one day, want to be the exact same thing for them. It's my biggest blessing in this world, honestly.
Yeah, even as a parent, that is the overall. But man, they make the day-to-day tough.
Trust me, I stress my parents out all the time.
I went upstairs today, and my kid's like, I did all this stuff. I dusted, I cleaned the bathrooms, I vacuumed. I was like, bro, you're the dopest. And then he says, "Yeah, by the way, the vacuum's a little lopsided. It's okay. Just a little thing chipped off. It's lopsided. It works." I go look, and it's just broken. I was like, what are you talking about? Like, you broke the vacuum." He's
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, but it's still good." I was like, "No, it's hanging on by a little wire. What do you mean it's still good?" He was like, "Yeah, I figured you weren't gonna be happy about this." I was like, "Really? Where did you come up with that from?"
Yeah.
So yeah, you believe in him, but man, straight after work, come upstairs. That's the first thing is I broke the vacuum. He's like, "I believe in you, but you got to tighten up a little bit. Just tighten up just a little bit."
I had plenty of butt chewings and
Yeah, yeah.
raised by a New York father. I'm sure
You
you
know,
could.
I'm from Jersey City, New Jersey. I was born in the 80s. You were born in the 90s. I'm pretty sure I got a decade on you. You're 28, I'm 38. So it's probably a little bit of a gap on certain things.
Yep.
But let's say we got some random questions. Jay
Let's do it.
Ferries, Crypto Furries, that's Trey Lance observation. Any thoughts on Trey Lance? Now, I know he's been designated, what, third string?
Yeah, third string.
He's definitely in the bust category at this point because there's no other way to put it. I
Yeah,
can't
no,
say any
you're
other.
right. I mean, at this point, what this is going to be year 3 for him, and has he played 20 games as a quarterback? No.
Has he played 10?
Yeah, like I guess you got to call him a bust. It was funny. Someone in the office asked me, and I'm going to do a video on it on Friday. Is should the Giants trade for Trey Lance? I'm going to say no, obviously, but I think
on that.
it's interesting to discuss. You know, we saw maybe could he be. You know, he's an athletic guy. Daniel Jones is an athletic guy. Could Dable and if Kafka is here for more than a year, maybe help him resurrect his career? I think it's an interesting topic. I never was the biggest believer in Trey Lance. I just thought the talent gap, and obviously we saw Carson Wentz do it go from whatever it was, North Dakota State to the NFL. But I just thought he didn't throw the ball well enough, but hasn't gone off to a good start for him yet.
I think people fall into that trap, and I don't want to do the small school trap, but sometimes you go back to that well too often because somebody hit, and well, I'm going to be the next guy to hit on the same kind of parameter. So they might ignore things because, well, if Carson Wentz can turn into a potential MVP and have that year, then we can do that with Trey Lance. But I think the thing that bothers me the most about the Trey Lance thing is every GM gets murdered for like their fallacies and their missteps. We're not hearing a peep about the Niners organization taking any heat for this. They made such a ridiculous trade to get him, and we're not hearing a peep because why? You hit on Brock Purdy, who potentially is or isn't? Oh, that's nuts to me. That is nuts.
And I like what you said about this person did this from this school, so they will do that. And I'll equate that to the Giants. I'll say it first. I believe in Evan Neal. But just because Andrew Thomas was bad as a rookie and then got to be the best tackle in the NFL, that doesn't mean that Evan Neal can do that. I'm sure he will become a good tackle, but it won't be because of the Andrew Thomas thing. You know what I'm saying?
100%. Yeah. You can't make the same one-to-one comparisons. Different people, different players, different circumstances, literally different everything. We just want to throw it in that bucket because it helps us, feel better. We can cope and give that hope. Like, yeah, if he can do it, he can do it.
100% agree.
I hope so.
He's a big piece this year, man.
I think he's got the right attitude and mentality to turn a corner and make it happen. So I wasn't worried. Listen, I'll say this. Last year, there was a 5-week stretch where you didn't hear about Evan Neal because he was playing well. There was a 5-week stretch where his name didn't get called and he was great. He went down with the MCL. Everything went downhill after that. Yep. He doesn't want to make that excuse. I'm not going to make an excuse. But clearly, within context, it made some type of impact.
It affected his game, 100%.
Sure. All right, what else? What do we have here? Because I don't want to skip. Becca with the hard-hitting questions here. Do you have pets?
I do not, and I have been mulling the idea of getting a dog for a year now up to this point. But I grew up with pets, man. I'm a big dog guy. Every year, my childhood, we had dogs. I just feel like the way my current lifestyle is right now, and I feel like I would be doing a disservice to the dog. Like, I want that dog to have the best damn life in the world. And right now, with my work schedule and me still trying to live my life a little bit, I just feel like I can't do that. But I do want a dog. I love dogs. Actually, one of my dogs growing up, his name was Shockey.
Nice.
For Jeremy Shockey. So I'd love to get a dog and name it after another giant. Tuck has always been one I've wanted to do for good old Justin.
Nice. All right, so let's ask the question because now it's what year is this for Daniel Jones now? 19. That's going to be year 5, right?
Year 5.
Okay. Where were you on that train? It's 2019. Pick six comes in. His name goes. Where are you on this journey from there to today?
Honestly, man, there wasn't really another quarterback that I thought was going to be great from that class. I knew we probably needed a quarterback, but I never really believed that Daniel Jones could be a top 10, top 5 quarterback when that happened. Probably fell into the trap of reading the helmet too much, Duke quarterback, seeing all the head waves, and then all my friends that are Texans fans blowing me up. You dummies, you drafted the Duke quarterback. But man, after that first season, after that first game versus the Bucks, I was like, this kid's got something. And I've gone up and down. I'm an emotional fan. I may cover them, but I am a fan first. And I've had my ups and my downs. I love what he's doing right now. I really do. I don't know if I ever thought he could have got to this point. I mean, probably top 15 quarterback on the low end at this point, if you're being objective. But man, did I ever think that in a playoff game he could throw for 300 yards, 70 on the ground, throw 3 touchdowns, set an NFL record? Nah, to be honest with you, I never thought that was possible.
And that's fair because even his career so far has been that weird arc. You got Shermer, you ball up, people are like, oh my God, they hit on him, right?
24
Shermer's out.
downs, 12 picks.
Shermer's out. Here comes the used car salesman, Joe Judge and company, right? Completely break this guy.
Good old
right?
Jason Garrett and his stop routes.
Oh my God. and you've heard the greatest of athletes say this, that a coach will kill the greatest of players. A coach can absolutely ruin a player. And now you say, okay, Dayball comes in, new regime comes in. Well, you can't fix it because he just sucks. It's not that he's been ruined. He just sucks. He's been ruined. Everything's bad. And all of a sudden now everything people are saying are kind of turning. Can he get off the first read? He got off of it. Can you play with a little bit more confidence? He plays with it. Can you extend plays out? Can you step up into all these little things that you complained about? He started doing them. And it's like, wait, maybe there is hope. And then the incremental gains like you're talking about, the game-winning comebacks and drives that weren't happening, winning with your legs and your arms, being smart, only 5 picks, all these little things that everyone says, well, you can't do it. Now he's doing them. He gets a semi-reward, plenty of money, but really just a 2-year deal. So he's still got to go out there and really, really earn this. So even his career has gone kind of like the fandom, right? Everyone's up, down. And there's going to be people who are going to tell you, listen, I was a day one believer, and that's fine. Good for you. I was always middle of the pack. I'm not going to be mad. I was in the middle of the pack. I'm happy because I'm always rooting for the team, though.
Exactly.
But if he wins, we win.
I think the first time, obviously the Bucks game, like that was incredible, right? You couldn't script a better first start for the kid.
Sure.
But it was that Saints game where he came back in the fourth quarter in the 2021-2022 season, the game where he threw the touchdown to John Ross. When they came back in that fourth quarter, threw the pass to Saquon on the left sideline, I was like, this kid is tough as nails. And I like kind of said at this point forward, like not saying I rooted against him, but like I am going to root for him and I am going to believe in him because I just saw that day he was doing it with scraps. And let's be honest, he's had scraps his whole life with the Giants. And I just believed, I was like, that kid's the real deal. And you hear all the players talk about him, right? First guy in, last guy out. It's hard not to be a fan at this point.
For me, my turning point was probably this season in the Green Bay game when Barkley goes out for the drive. You got to make the drive to win the game, and you're like, all right, now we've taken everything away from you. It's you and Marcus Johnson, who's probably going to drop it, right? Go figure it out. And Matt Breida, and they did. Sure, the defense made a stop too. Don't get me wrong, but he did his part. He can't play defense. That I found very, very impressive. That really just kind of turned the switch for me. Again, I wasn't a hater. I wasn't like a non-believer, but we're looking for more to say this is the next guy for 10 years. That gave me a lot, man. That really, really gave me a lot. I was like, you know what? He's way better than he's getting credit for.
100% agree. And obviously I work with other dudes that cover NFL teams, and I get to go live on the channel for every Giants game day. And they like try to tell me these things about Jones. And it's like, dude, I'm not saying he's an elite MVP quarterback, but like if you watched last year, there's no way you can't say he is good.
Yeah.
Like he did everything the Giants asked for. Take care of the football and lead scoring drives. And he did that.
Yep.
I was very proud of him this year.
Absolutely. So coach wants to know, as a player, because he said you played a little bit, More of an athlete, more of an intellect. Where was your game? Cerebral, physical, combination?
When I once upon a time played football, is that what he's asking about?
Yes.
So I played quarterback my entire life. Played quarterback my whole life. And then when I got to my senior year of high school, going into spring ball, which technically was my junior year, going into senior year, I was in a quarterback competition with my best friend, which was funny at the time. We were both competing to be a starting quarterback. And like, I just kind of felt like it wasn't going my way a little bit. So I remember I went into the coach's office and I was like, hey, I'm too smart of a football player. I'm too good at this sport. Like, let me try to play another position as well as get these reps. And I switched to tight end, and I ended up playing tight end my senior year and then 1 year of college football. I would say definitely brains. I'm not the most athletic guy in the world, but I'd say I could beat you with my brains. And I had pretty good hands back in the day. Not anymore. I'm washed up.
Hey, listen, you had a moment though, and that's all that really matters. Chris wants to know: has Marshall ever been to a Knicks game at MSG? Have you been to the Garden?
Sadly, no. And it's one of the biggest regrets of my life. I will blame my dad for that. He helped me achieve my dreams, but didn't take me to a damn Knicks game in
Is
MSG.
that on your bucket list? One day I'm gonna go to the Garden.
Absolutely. I want to go to the Garden. I want to go to Yankee Stadium. I want to go to MetLife. I haven't been to any, but every time a New York team came to Houston, I will say my dad got us tickets, which was awesome.
Okay, fair enough. Now MetLife does suck, so keep
I've
them
heard.
very low.
I know, but I want to go to a game, man. I
Yeah,
really
of course,
do.
because forget the stadium. The atmosphere is electric. Like
I believe it.
it's a really really good time. Um, Bill says, not a question, but prayers for Tommy Sweeney. Yes, let's hope he is okay. We haven't got any information yet, I think, outside of
Scary.
dealing with a medical issue. That's scary for everyone at any point, right? These guys are, chasing dreams, out here working hard for their careers. The last thing we want is some type of medical issue that's just kind of stopping them. So absolutely shout out for him.
Very sad.
Chris says he's already a top 10 QB, talking about Daniel Jones. For me, his low end, like you said, was 15. I was more at 12. Even last year, I was like, at worst, I think he's top 12. And I think that's fair. Even the 12, 15 bucket, right? It's like a bucket. And I think that's more than fair. But this year, I'm expecting.
Everyone asks me that. What do you expect from Daniel Jones?
That's a great question. So what do you, if you had to put something tangible on him, what is your tangible expectation for Daniel Jones?
I don't even want to like put stats on it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like get me back to the playoffs. That's all I want. That's all I care about. If you go to the playoffs and back-to-back years as a quarterback, you're pretty dang good. So yes, I'd love to see him throw 30 touchdowns. Yes, I'd love to see the Giants be a top 10 offense. But what do they say? If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, what's a success for Daniel Jones this year for me? Let's get back to the playoffs. Maybe win another playoff game. Maybe not get blown out in round 2.
These are all fair and all in full agreement. I would like the same thing. If you put a number on it, I'm with you. Get me back to where you just were. Get me back to the postseason, and let's talk about it there. Coach?
I don't think it's fair to say, oh, he has to throw 30 touchdowns or it's a failure. What? That doesn't make sense to me.
If Jalen Hurts can be an MVP candidate with 22 throwing touchdowns, I don't know what we're talking about, and I'm gonna leave it right there. If 22 touchdowns gets you there, then Yeah,
the only stat I care about is wins, except for Eric Gray at Oklahoma. Those stats were good.
Well, Eric Gray's not good at football, but I wouldn't know because I don't watch college football, so he's really not good.
I had to jump in on that. I don't do that.
I'm going to bring that at some point anyway. So Marshall is, for anyone who's watching right now, Marshall is talking about some guy on Twitter yesterday made a comment that Eric Gray should get cut, but he's not getting cut because he's a fifth-round pick, all because he dropped a punt in practice, which then he followed up and said, well, he hasn't been good in the preseason. What have you been watching exactly? Yeah, well, he wasn't good in college. What have you been watching again? So obviously Marshall joined in on that, and he threw out his stats, and he was like, "Yeah, it's not really that good." And I was like, "All right, man, I'm off this guy. Like, whatever. All right, no problem. You be the GM, man. That happens, man. There's always gonna be people like that. I bring this up all the time. I don't understand how you can be so negative as a fan of a team. Is it just your perception? Is it your life? Like, why are you this sad? Like, it's okay to have a little bit of hope."
And the people say you have an agenda. It's like, my only agenda is for this team to win.
You have a narrative. Yes, my narrative is I hope we're good.
Yeah.
That's my narrative. I hope we can win. I am positive about my players. Like, I want them to succeed. Even the guys I don't like, if they're on the roster, I root for them, but I'm not happy about it. Such as Durag Darnay, who's terrible, O'Shane Zimenez, who's actually worse than Durag Darnay, and they're
Yeah.
both still on the roster.
I don't know if they will be for long.
My problem with, I think they'll keep Zimenez because there's nothing else. They don't have a third pass rusher, right? So this is the part that I've said that keeps me up at night. But this is the one thing I think about, that if I can find the biggest hole for me that makes me go, huh, what's going to stop us? It's really, who's that pass rush specialist? Fine, you got Kayvon, you got Aziz, Dexter up the middle, fine, no problem. But who's that actual third down guy who can say, listen, you really have one job right now, just go do that one job. So that part kind of I wish we had.
Yeah, and like, look, if injuries are off, Madden style, we have a great front four.
Yeah.
I like the interior, Ashawn, Rakeem, Jordan Riley. You don't know what you got in 7th round pick, but he's popped in preseason a little bit.
Sure.
I'm scared about our depth at edge, and slot corner kind of scares me a little bit right now. I don't know. I wanted that job to be Cordell Flott so bad, but it doesn't seem like he's earned it.
What's happening there? So you're hitting the nail on the head, right? So I was 100% wrong about Cordell Flott. I thought size-wise it wasn't going to work too much, but when I saw him actually play, I was like, man, this guy's read and react skills are elite. I love it. I was like, he will be great for man coverage. I feel like he can be your outside corner if he wants to be. You can easily put him there. But he can't displace Durag Darnay. And I don't understand. So I'm missing something, and I guess I don't have the intel. You don't. I'm with you. He's not doing enough for them to say, all right, you're the guy there, which is very disappointing because the talent is there. It's absolutely, yeah.
He's got, maybe this year's class makes up for last year's. Wasn't too thrilled with last year's class. Only been 1 year. Don't want to jump the gun, but seems like there's a lot of excitement about this year's draft class compared to last.
So let's talk about last year's class, right? I know we have a bunch of comments and I'll get to your questions, but right now, as usual, we're just kind of kicking it, right? Yeah. So let's talk about last year's draft class. What were your thoughts at the time? So remove the year of what you've seen so far, remove that context. What did you think initially?
Honestly, I liked it. Didn't love it, though. At the time, I kind of thought Wandale was more of a 3rd or 4th round guy. But, thought he played all right. The injury sucks. Cordell Flott and Wandale. 2 things about them that stood out to me through the draft process were they're undersized guys. Like, whether you love them or not, I think that's just a fact. They're 2 undersized guys. And we saw them kind of get hurt in their rookie year. But overall, I think I gave the grade for the draft class last year a B+. So I was happy with it. I liked the pick of Micah McFadden in the later rounds. Some of the guys that I watch on YouTube were really high out of him coming out of college. I love the 1st round, obviously. I thought we hit a home run on that at the time. Sure. I think we did. But, they all got hurt. Everyone in that class ended up getting hurt.
Minus Micah McFadden. He's the only guy in, I believe, an 11-person draft that didn't get hurt.
It was ridiculous, and that was just our Giants' luck. I'm still holding out hope for that class. Wandale comes back. He looked good as a rookie closing out, had that 100-yard game. Cordell Flott has a big pass breakup against the Vikings that saves the season. Yep. Hopefully Evan Neal and Kayvon Thibodeau are foundational pieces to this organization. Hopefully maybe one of Beavers or McFadden turns into something. But I just think the hype around this class is a little bit different.
Sure, and I'm a fan of Dane Belton and Bellinger. I think both 4th rounders are just money in the bank. Number one, they're great people. Let's remove that part, right? So I've been lucky enough to talk to Daniel Bellinger. I was able to talk to some family members of Dane Belton. He's just a good guy, right? Comes from a good background, all that stuff. And I love their play. I really, really love.
I love both those guys. I really do.
And those 3 safety looks, I'm expecting a lot from Dane Belton. When they want to play those 3 safety looks, I'm expecting a lot between McKinney, him, and Pinnock. And then, again, I said this when they traded for Darren Waller, that Daniel Bellinger is about to just live the greatest life ever because he can. Let's just say Neal has the worst thing ever, and they just wanted to keep Bellinger into chip and block. Every time he leaks out, no one's going to be able to stop him.
Yep.
It's an automatic 4 to 6 yards at the very least every single time. So very excited about Bellinger. So yeah, there's very interesting that, and I think Jay just hit it right here, is that all of Shane's picks so far have flashed
Yeah.
some way or another, or we can go back historically and guys are just trashed to the season no matter what. They don't even flash for you for previous. But at this point, just about everyone has made you go, huh, this could be something.
I think the only one that hasn't, DJ Davidson, and he's had injuries, but he may be the only one where it's like we haven't really seen him do anything
But
great.
he even made a couple flash plays before
Yeah.
he got hurt. He even made it. The only player I could think of right now that made no plays because literally got hurt at FanFest was McKeithen. That's the only one because he
Yeah.
tore the ACL. McKeithen. He's the only one you could be like, you know what, he didn't do anything. Fair enough, he didn't play all
Yeah.
season. But they've really hit a lot. Again, initially, it won't matter unless the production comes over time.
Yeah.
So that was last year's class. How do you feel about this year's class so far?
So far, man, I mean, like me, I'm sure you do it as well. We all do it. We live for Giants football, and we watch every training camp highlight and read everyone's stories. I don't know how you can't be excited about this class right now. I mean, shoot, even the 7th round picks, Travarius Owens and Jordan Riley, are flying all over the field in preseason. Someone at work asked me, it's like, all right, Marshall, not all of these guys are going to be good. I'm like, all right, fair. That's the percentage. And they're like, which one do you think, if you had to guess, is going to be, not live up to the hype? And I was like, I don't know. I couldn't think of one. And I need to be a little bit more objective, I guess, but I love this class. I love what they're doing so far.
I think the objective one that may not live to it is probably the one that has the most hype, and that might be Jalen Hyatt. If they put too much hype on him, and again, it won't be necessarily because of production, it's going to be the way they end up using him and how they bring him in. Initially, I thought it was going to be slow rolling, kind of the way he's working in practice and preseason. I think it'll be a little bit earlier when they unleash him than maybe what I thought, but he's still not like a day one starter. And what I mean by that is if they go in a 2x1, he'll be there in a 3x1, but when they just play straight up X and Y, he's not going to be either the X or the Y at that point. He's going to be sub packaged or in the slot to move around. So that's really what I mean, that height might be a little bit too much for him to even keep up, especially when most comparisons are Deshaun Jackson, because it's the most accurate one, in my opinion.
Like, the hype from the fans is crazy, but like at the end of the day, he was a 3rd round pick.
Yeah.
So even if he, worst case scenario, doesn't work out, it was just a 3rd round pick. But I believe in him. That the speed, you can't coach that, man. My man, Coach Gladney, watching knows that you can't coach that speed.
Not at all. And he can run routes. So we can all move past the Cowboys coach comment, which again, that thing is going to be a legacy thing for him that just forever. I would maybe just take that clip and play it on repeat forever until
I have it bookmarked, ready to go week 1 if he scores.
yeah, 100%. I'm dropping it like 17,000 times, and I do believe, and I've said this every week, and I'll continue to. I'll take the L if it happens. We're winning week 1. I have full confidence that we defeat Dallas in week 1 because we are much closer to that personnel and what's happening there. Now, granted, all the matchups aren't exactly great, and the game's always about matchups. But roster by roster, where are they blowing you out exactly? Where are they blowing you out? They're winning in some places, fine. But where are they blowing you out where it's like, you know what, they're just going to dominate this aspect and you can't do anything?
We had multiple chances on Thanksgiving to win that game.
And lost by a singular score.
We had multiple chances. Barkley catches that 4th down.
Different
maybe
scenario.
Put out in front, sure, but I want my superstar running back to catch that.
Yeah. So in all those close games that didn't go your way, you've upgraded talent, you've upgraded roster, you should be able to make those incremental moves. This is just called PTSD as a Giants fan, and probably for the past 10 whatever God years of losing it's been. I see the pain coming. Well, again, that's part of the PTSD. But yeah, I mean, I'm with you too. Normally, I'm very, I don't know, but I'm willing to put it in the basket this season just because there's been enough talent influx. There's enough in the coaching. There's enough players to execute that I'm putting confidence in them that they should be able to win. I'm not in a position where I'm guaranteeing it, but I'm ready to say they're going to win just because there's enough talent here.
There is. And, some of our talent is injury prone, whatever you want to say. They're going to be healthy week 1. So
yeah.
I'm so ready to watch Darren Waller play football, man. I am so ready.
That first preseason drive was just like
I was so happy.
It was like putting gasoline on a fire that's already kind of there, and somebody just dumped a whole lot of gasoline and just set everything on fire. And
Dable did that on purpose, where it's like, we're going to throw
absolutely,
him every play.
absolutely. This was 100% intentional, and it was like, all right, let's see what you can do. And fine, Carolina's not like a top 15 defense or anything. No problem, fine. You still got to go out there and execute. I'm not looking at the gains. I'm not looking at the score. I'm watching everything else. Show me the execution.
Yeah.
And the execution just had my eyes like, oh my God, I'm excited.
I just remember after every play, I'd be like, all right, they're going to run it this one. Play action. I was like, all right, they have to run it this time. Play action. I'm like, they dropped back to pass 10 times in a row. It was awesome.
And I love the fact that there was a clean pocket taking place. Like there were just so many positive aspects, and you're like, this is exciting. So exciting, especially with some of the breakdowns they did. And that's not even getting into the addition of a Paris Campbell. We're only talking about Darren Waller. There's other additions where this is one of those scenarios where in fantasy there might be too many there might be too many receivers around and not enough balls type scenario where I don't know how reliable they'll be outside of Barkley, Jones, and Waller. Flip a coin for like W3-4 or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
But yeah, very, very exciting. Is there a particular player from last season's draft where you have your eyes on that, all right, this is not that I'm hoping, but it's happening, whatever that jump may be, that this is happening because I've based it off of what I've seen?
Oh, that's a good question, man. I hoped it was going to be Flott. I really did. Can we see Micah McFadden become a serviceable inside linebacker number 2 next to Okereke? We know Wink likes to run those sub packages. I still think though that the 2 linebacker set will be a main staple in this defense, but like it's a weakness, and the Davis injury this offseason, showed that we aren't all that deep there. Can Micah McFadden claim that job? And it's like, all right, he's our inside linebacker too now. That would be a guy from that class. Or what about Dane Belton? Like, only thing that I'm worried about with Belton is we got a really another good guy at that position in Jason Pinnock. I think he's a stud. But like you said, like they used to do when the Giants won the Super Bowl, those three safety looks, man.
They knew how to use each one. Each one had a very specific assignment, and they did well with it. And between the 3 of them, all the speed is there. You don't have to worry about which one you want. He's a ball hawk, man. And like I said, just a great kid. He's going to be really, really good. Pinnock's killing it. Shout out to Pinnock. I mean, he's passing every eye test. Yeah, I mean, he's passing the eye test. So between the 3 of them, whoever you want to put in the box, not put in the box, fake in the box, drop into coverage, they can literally do everything they want and just kind of bait, because all 3 of them can bait and make plays.
Did you see what Xavier McKinney tweeted today?
Which one? He was going on like an emo
level. Okay, I only saw one. So
he had like a couple of tweets today. So
I saw the one where he's like, I don't feel appreciated or whatever. Right. And like I get it. You want the contract extension, but man, your actions sometimes have repercussions. I'm sure the Giants, if he didn't do the things, whatever happened in Mexico, whatever you want to say, I'm sure if that didn't happen, they would have paid him. I am scared though that if, let's say, McKinney has a good year, they have Belton and Pinnock. Are they going to pay Xavier McKinney?
I don't think this is that kind of regime. I think they're more based on we have a replacement we're willing to live with. Let's get a comp pick because I need to keep that gun full. I need the bullets. This regime gives me the vibes of today's type of modern GM scouting scenario where I'd rather have the bullets. I'm not willing to let good players go. Don't get me wrong. But if you're asking for money that, hey, listen, if they're willing to go toe-to-toe with Barkley, who is Xavier McKinney? Who's got Xavier McKinney as a top 3 safety? Nobody. You got Barkley in your top 3 as a running back, right? So, I mean, if they're willing to go toe-to-toe with the face of the franchise, I don't know if it's fair to call him a global star, but enough of a more than household name type, right? If they can go toe-to-toe on contracts with him, I'm not worried about them playing chess with McKinney. So if he doesn't go out there and ball, but he asks for baller money, it's not happening.
Yeah, and you got Owens, who 7th round pick, sure, but I think he's going to make this team. And I am dreading having to talk about Xavier McKinney contract extensions.
It's going to be interesting how he performs, one in a contract year, two with more talent around him. Because again, you're going to have to identify him and what he's doing individually. And then on top of that, he has had a up and down career. His rookie season, he missed 10 games. He had a really, really good COVID year. Our entire defense was good in 2020. Everyone had one. 21, what was it? He got hurt again. So up and down his career. So I need a little bit of consistency. But again, I mean, if he wants that 18, 19, 20,
Those high-end safeties are getting the bag, man.
yeah, I don't know if I can do that. And sure, we're gonna get the it's not your money, blah blah blah. Fine. Yes, I know it's not my money. Yes, I know I'm not managing salary cap. But no matter how much you manipulate, you can't pay everybody unless you want to end up like the New Orleans Saints. Like they're gonna keep kicking the can down the road. It's gonna catch up at some point. I don't know why you want to operate like that.
And I think we've hopefully learned as fans at this point, Joe Shane, there's no can for him to kick. He's not doing that.
No.
He refuses to do it. So, and you got to pay Adoree Jackson this offseason. Like,
if you want to bring him back, Leonard Williams is a free agent. I mean, he could have restructured Kebleo. Nope, you eat that $32 million. We'll talk next offseason.
Exactly.
He's not playing around with finances, which again I personally like. So it's going to be interesting how markets pan out, and again, what other suitors he has. Are you going to get into a little bit of bidding war where somebody's willing to overpay? Are you going to go that extra million? I don't know, but I'm almost 100% sure the franchise tag will again go to Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, I'm not going to be shocked if two of Leonard Williams, Adoree Jackson, and Xavier McKinney are playing their last years for the Giants, sadly. I know we don't want to look ahead, but
if Hawkins works out, then why would you repay Adoree? You're not going to pay him. Adoree's going to want to be paid outside cornerback money, even if he spends time in the slot being valuable, because there's just more money there. Yeah, and I love Adoree. I've been wanting to restructure him, and yet Leo's number is going to have to come way down, like ridiculously. As good as he is, absolutely, it's got to come way, way down. So a lot of interesting decisions are going to take place off season. Who's the one player out of some of the guys you just named that you have to keep no matter what? Gun to your head, sorry, I got to keep this guy. You got McKinney, you got Adoree, you got Leo. I'm sure there's other names I'm absolutely blanking on. But between, say, those three, which are probably your tops, and, they all just happen to be on the defensive side of the ball too, which one are you keeping no matter what?
That's a good question, man. I think Adoree, I don't know, just because cornerbacks are so important in today's NFL. And I am all in on the Trey Hawkins hype train, but I think it's unfair to him to have these expectations that he can come in and replace Adoree Jackson as a 6th-round pick when Adoree was our number 1 corner last year. And if you look at the stats when he played and when he didn't play, it was a drastic difference.
Yeah.
And I think that there's less depth at that corner spot than at that safety spot. And I think we've kind of seen that, like, the more people you have that can cover, the crazier Wink can get with this defense.
Yeah.
I will say, though, I think the biggest X factor out of those 3 this year is Leonard Williams. If he can get back to, sure, you don't have to give me that 11.5 sack season you did that one year, but can I get 6 sacks and you just become a great player once again next to Dexter Lawrence? Like, he's 29. He's not some 34-year-old washed up vet. Like, he's still in the prime of his career. Yep. He needs to have a big year. He really does.
So you're going to live in, now we're going to old school a little bit, right? You're going to live and die by your front here. They've rebuilt the front a little bit to want to live and die by it, which again, they should absolutely be able to live with, especially the amount of D tackle depth they've brought in, where the drop off shouldn't be, exponential. Sure, you can say, Nacho's not as good as Dexter Lawrence. Duh. But it shouldn't be an exponential drop-off that if it's a run play, you're going to get gashed immediately.
Yep.
Or, he's just going to get fooled because he's a Super Bowl winning defensive tackle. He's got the right mindset, makeup. Same thing with we're not even talking about Ashawn Robinson. Man's a mammoth starting winning D tackle. So, they've brought in the talent that when I have to swap people out, Aziz and Kayvon should still be able to do their job. They should still be able to do what they're supposed to be doing. And I personally love Jason Pinnock on safety blitzes. The guy gets home. He gets home. That's all I care about. He gets home.
He's an explosive player, man. He really is.
I loved how they used him. They did in the preseason too. I mean, he got home. He gets home. I hated it when they were blitzing Darnay Holmes because he didn't get like I don't understand certain the thing that kills me about O'Shane Ximines, right? He's a pass rush specialist who can't get to the quarterback. So what is the use, right? He doesn't get to the quarterback.
Yeah.
2 of his sacks last year were straight up coverage Hail Mary sack. One was just a Hail Mary sack that shouldn't even count, but it does count statistically.
Yeah.
So I mean, from that standpoint, they've brought enough depth in the front, and now you add like Okereke, legit sideline to sideline linebacker. Banks will have his ups and downs, but I like what I'm seeing. Adoree is Adoree. You know what you're going to get with him. Trey Hawkins, I don't know yet. I know the train's just moving like this with this guy. I know the train's moving. That makes me hesitant when a train moves that quickly.
Yeah.
It makes me very, very hesitant about what's real, what's fake. That's not a knock on him, but I got to see him week in and week out before I could just crown him.
Exactly. And yeah, that's 100% fair. I mean, we even said it with the first round corner. We both agreed he's going to have his ups and downs.
Of course.
Same thing's going to happen with that 6th round guy, but he can still be a good player.
But you love the athletic traits, the size. I didn't know how big he was, and I was at training camp. I was like, he's bigger than I thought. He is quite large. He's like 6'2". He's built. I was like, okay, he's going to be able to at least bully some people with his size alone. So that'll be interesting. Is there any UDFA or surprises you have making this team? So have you done your 53 yet, or are you still kind of?
Oh, I've done 2, one each the last week. I did a new one that went out on the channel this week.
Okay.
I'm not an O'Shane Ximines guy. So I ended up cutting him in my 53. I had Tom and Fox.
That would be a surprise to me.
Yeah. I had Tom and Fox. Is it Tommen or Timon?
When I listen to them on the game, I think they say
I've heard
Fox. I think it's Timon.
Yeah, Timon Fox, Tom and Fox. I had him making it, and then as that 4th edge, I got a little crazy. I put Baldonado on.
Let's say Baldonado. Okay.
I thought he kind of flashed that first preseason game.
He did. That's fair. He did.
And I would rather take the younger player that at least looked good in preseason than a 4th-year player in O'Shane Ximines that hasn't really lived up to the hype of being that
5th-year player.
Yeah, even worse.
Right? This is 5th year. He was part of the 2019 draft. I think he was part of Daniel Jones draft. So this is his 5th year.
Yeah, like give me the younger, hungrier kid that might be able to be coached up a little bit more.
Yeah, you know what? I'll gain a little bit of cap space off of it too, because I mean, UDFA money versus whatever his 1-year deal was. I think it was $1 million, $2 million. It obviously wasn't great, and obviously nobody wanted him. Like he sat on the market forever, and they re-signed him.
Yep, they waited until after the draft. I'd love to say Bryce Ford Wheaton, but
it seems like he might make his way through specials. Seems like if he makes it and he's their gunner, that means bye-bye to Cam Brown. They're not keeping 2 gunners. Like that's not happening. So you're going to obviously usurp somebody.
Yeah,
so if he makes it, Cam Brown isn't. I don't see Cam Brown then being there. And I could be wrong on that, but you're not going to have 2 gunners. That doesn't make sense. You have a singular gunner and you have a backup. So unless he's just the backup, so be it.
They're going to have some tough decisions to make, man. They are.
Speaking of tough decisions, the wide receiver room has like 96 people in it. How many did you end up keeping? Forget the names just yet. How many? I
did 7, and that was with Wandale not on the pup. So I had him as part of my.
So you included him, right? So are we allowed to ask your 6, or do we have to watch your video? Because now I'm just curious.
No, I had obviously the big dogs.
Sure.
Hodgins, Slayton, Hyatt, Campbell.
You got Wandale, right? That's 5.
Hyatt, Hodgins, Slayton, Campbell, Wandale Robinson, Cole Beasley, and then I did who am I blanking on? Shep, yeah, I had Shep in. Those are my 7.
So you do have Beasley making it.
Yeah, I just thought, man, look, I had heard last year, and I did a video on it, that the Giants really wanted to sign Cole Beasley. He wanted too much money. It didn't happen. He ended up talking to Art Stapleton, who does a great job, and he told him that's what happened. They didn't have the money I could ask, so I ended up signing back with the Bucks or whatever it was. This is my sticking point on Beasley. Why would the Giants sign a veteran in Cole Beasley and have him running with the first team offense the first day of training camp, taking away reps from younger guys if he wasn't going to make this team? That it just doesn't. I can't compute that. So I think between that, the relationship with Dable, I think he's in, man. I could be wrong. Could be wrong. I just think he's in.
That's a very valid and fair statement you just made as far as I don't want to say tipping the cat, but I mean that's how you get your information, right? You watch for certain things, say, all right, what's my interpretation of this?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is valid. That the day he signed, he was one of the ones. That says something. I,
Yeah.
I don't know. So whether the agreement is here, you help bring things up to speed and hold down the fort while we don't rush Shep and Wandale, maybe,
Yeah. Maybe
or
Wandale and Shep are not really ready
we,
to go one
yeah,
week one.
or we practice squad you. I don't know, but he did he
I
did look
like what
clean.
he did in that first preseason
He
game,
did
man.
look clean.
Catches the
He
ball,
made
he
a
gets
couple tough
open.
catches. He did make a couple of
He gets
tough
north and
catches.
south, man. I
I'm
like
not I'm not the biggest Cole Beasley fan. I just find him annoying on Twitter as an individual. But
that. I don't follow him
as
on
a
Twitter, so I don't know what he
no,
does
no,
on.
I didn't follow him. He just shows up on your timeline because he starts trending when he goes on his rants.
I'm
But
lucky I missed those then.
productivity wise, you can't deny the fact that he's been productive in the league, and that's what this league is about, right? You stick
Yep.
around if you're productive. But at his age, for him to still get it done is interesting. I think the thing that was least interesting is, or actually most interesting about him is, retiring, unretiring. I'm always iffy on those kind of guys. Like, was it really about money, or are you just done with the game? I don't know. So we'll see if he makes it. We'll find out really quickly if he makes the roster and if he doesn't. If he doesn't make it and he retires, there you go.
Yeah. What? Who do you got making the squad at receiver?
I think I have the same guys as you, and I'm just iffy on that number 7 because I really like Colin Johnson, but I don't know if he's out of time. I don't know if it's a scenario where he got hurt again a little bit, so that maybe hurt him. But man, he's picked up right where he's left off.
Yeah.
He's a big body. He can run routes. I like him. So the question just becomes with Colin Johnson is did he do enough to supplement or again usurp somebody else? But I really like Colin Johnson. So it's gonna be again, like you said, there's so many receivers, it's gonna be tough. I like I like Jamison Crowder. I really like Jamison Crowder, another professional who knows how to do it, can do special teams. Everybody brings something to the table. So I think that's what makes this one a little bit more difficult. You're not just looking for, well, this guy's just head and shoulders above. No, that really isn't there. Those are maybe your 5.
Yeah.
6, 7, 8 potentially. That's going to be the who are they going to land on? Who's going to end up being a practice squad guy? Who's not? But Colin Johnson's one that I'm like, here's what I think when I think of Colin Johnson or anyone. Right? You're at the 8-yard line, 7-yard line. Fine. You're on a nice little goal line. You got 6'6" Darren Waller. You got big old Daniel. You got big old Daniel Bellinger. You got 6'5" Colin Johnson. You got like 6'4" Isaiah Hodgins, and you sneak 6'2" Hyatt in there. Man, come on. You got to deal with that. Size is something you have to deal with. That puts pressure on the defense. And a 6-foot safety or a 6'1" and a 5'10" guy that I can't out jump you, I can't stop you. Maybe I have to get physical with you. Those kind of things intrigue me once we start talking about leverage, right? Can the bigger guy just win? So it's kind of for those scenarios I go, I kind of want this guy. But again, did he do enough? Did that injury again kind of hurt him this one a little bit? I know he's back, which is great. So he probably is going to get a lot of action. I think a lot of guys are going to get action Saturday.
I'm excited to see him Saturday versus the Jets.
Yeah, Colin Johnson's kind of my toss-up wide receiver that I don't know, but I'm rooting for him. If he makes it, great. If he doesn't, so be it. But I'm rooting for him.
He had 2 great summers, man. He was good this summer before the injury. He was great last summer before the injury.
And he's got professional catches on his resume. He's not just a training camp guy. It's not a David Sill scenario where you're just like the training camp god, but nothing in the regular season. Colin Johnson's done it in the regular season on the team professionally. So it's one of those things where he's got something on his resume. So Colin Johnson's a very interesting one.
I wonder if they can maybe squeeze him on the practice squad or if somebody scoops him up.
It's going to be interesting. What if they keep 8, right? I don't know what direction they're going in just yet. That's going to be the curious part is what are they keeping and where? Any surprises on the defense side? To me, Zimenez is not a surprise at all.
No.
Baldonado's a surprise.
Baldonado's a surprise.
That would be a surprise as far as making it.
Yeah. I just I would rather go with the youth and maybe the upside there. Because I do think he is a better pass rusher than Oshane Zimenez.
Sure.
I think he gets washed down in the run a little bit. He's a UDFA, right? But could he maybe come in on passing down if KT or 51's tired? I want to see. I had the Giants cutting Bobby McCain. I don't know if that's a shocker or surpriser. Yeah. I put Owens in and McCain out, so I ended up keeping 4 safeties: Owens, Pinnock, Belton, and McKinney.
Do they end up potentially keeping a 5th if it ends up being a special team scenario? Or do you think 4 is probably their number in that DB room? Because I don't know how they're treating their DB room versus their safety room, or if it's just all encompassing right now because they got them doing so much.
I had them keeping McLeod, and he's been running corner and safety, so he was kind of that fifth safety, extra nickel,
Sure.
special teams type of guy. I liked him. I know some people ragged on McLeod for what he did last year. I kind of liked what he did. I mean, dude, he was a veteran minimum player, and he played all over the field for us. Sure, he's not a sticky lockdown corner, but
he had a lot of good moments. He had a lot of good moments. Again,
sometimes.
A lot of that season last year doesn't happen unless people put up like Fabian Moreau. All these guys were just, doing their best, and it was well. But Bill said it, we're in a position where it's finally a good problem where for years you already knew everybody was gone. We were hoping to pick somebody else to replace them. We're not in that same scenario now where it's like, I now want to keep guys and not let them go, which it's been years since we could say that. And same thing with Frazier. We have several cuts who are going to probably get waived and claimed up pretty quickly where it didn't happen before. So we're at an interesting time again.
I wouldn't be shocked if we scoop up a couple players on the waiver wire. Notably pass rusher and slot corner. I'm keeping my eyes on those. Maybe even edge rusher.
I forgot who tweeted it to keep an eye on. It was a beat writer. I can't remember who it was, or if it wasn't a beat writer, it was like a media reporter for the Giants. They said that keep your eye on, again, edge rushers potentially even as a trade as you get closer to that Tuesday deadline, potentially trying to scoop someone up before they get waived, or I expect them to be active because, again, they know they don't have anything in the pass rush outside of those. If we know it, they know it. They are definitely smarter than us about their roster. So, What else are you thinking about this season that either gives you pause, that makes you go, this is going to be a problem?
The only thing I'm really worried about is injuries, man. And I know that's an easy answer.
But it's historical at this point for us, right?
Like if Waller, can I get 14 games from Waller? I don't need the full 17. You know what? He's probably going to miss a game or two. That's the nature of the NFL. If I can get 14 games for Waller, I'm doing jumping jacks. I'm excited.
14 and ready for playoffs. Give me
14 and ready for playoffs. Exactly.
That combo. Yeah, I'm with that. They have a late bye this year too, so it's gonna be tough sledding. I think they have like a week 11 or 12 bye. It's one of the last ones, so it's gonna be. The Giants at least have gotten very lucky over the last 5-6 years. They've always gotten the middle of the season as a bye week. They've always gotten that 7, 8, 9. It's a good time. Oof, but man, 11. That's tough sledding between that late bye.
Yeah, it's the injuries and kind of the schedule this year. Like that for outside of week 2 against Arizona, those first 5-6 games, there's no gimmies. And it's the NFL. There are no gimmies. But shoot, you got the Cowboys and you got Arizona, then you got the Niners and you got the Seahawks. And it's like you got to get off to a fast start. Like
that Niners game is going to be quite the litmus test because that defense is legit. So they're going to put a lot of pressure on you. And again, Deebo Samuel, we'll see if Brock Purdy's for real or not. Again, I don't know enough because I'm not following them to that extent. But all those things are going to be, and it's the road game, right? So it's going to be a tough one. Is that the short week game? Is that the Thursday night?
I think that is a short. Yep, you get Arizona week 2. I wonder if they'll stay out west.
They should. They absolutely
should. Yeah. I mean, you got to play the Dolphins. You got to play the Bills. You got to play the Jets. Like all of our non-conference game or division games they're tough.
Yeah. You're not playing the same. Like the AFC South is trash.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we swept them. Great. The AFC East is not trash. The Bills are really good.
Yeah.
The Jets are going all in. Whether you like it or not, they're going all in wherever they can to get to that next level. So that's not an easy out. The Patriots are always the Patriots, man. Bill Belichick is going to try as hard as he humanly can, no matter how bad the roster is. So it's going to be tough. And then the Dolphins have so much on both sides of the ball.
It's a lot of speed on offense.
Well, all legit, man. Lots of speed. So definitely going to be one that's interesting. So tell me a little bit about your favorite player. Who's your favorite player growing up?
It's got to be Eli, right? Got to be Eli. Man, I loved that dude. My favorite quality of Eli is no matter what the score was, in that fourth quarter, I always believed that he could get us down and go score points and put us back in the game or win the game on that final drive. Haven't got that feeling with Daniel Jones just yet. Not fair to compare him to a Hall of Famer, obviously. But anytime we entered that final drive to go win a game, I was like, 10's going to do it. He just was a different player in the clutch, man. Sure, you could point out the interceptions, lackluster, sometimes up and downs, regular seasons. That dude was always good in the fourth quarter, man.
The reason I never cared about the interceptions is because if you even look at all time, he's like 12th.
Yeah.
Not like he's, led the league for the history. Brett Favre has like 6,000 interceptions, and he's got one Super Bowl. What are we talking about, right? Yep. We just talk about the fact that his regular seasons were not up to par with everything else, and I agree. Guess what? His teams are garbage.
They let him down a lot, man.
Garbage, right?
Jerry Reese, they didn't do him very many favors.
It's why I'm not a big Jerry Reese guy. We keep saying the 2 Super Bowls on the resume. Fine. Part of it was one regime, an influx of one draft class that you hit. Everything else after that for you is just straight misses.
Yeah.
You got lucky that you had an Eli. Part of the worst thing that happened is winning that 4th Super Bowl because they're like, let's run it back. If we keep supplementing these little trash pieces, Eli's got it. Don't worry about it.
Yep. Yeah. It's got to be Eli for me. I grew up playing quarterback. I wore number 10. I wanted to be QB of the Giants just like him.
Least favorite player of all time. A guy you're like, God, why were you ever on my team? I hate you so much. And there's going to be quite a few of that list too.
Yeah, that's tough. Least favorite.
Sure. There's a Giant you're like today, my current least favorite Giant would absolutely be O'Shane Ximines, man. No hesitation. Get him off my roster.
Can I go Eric Flowers, man?
Absolutely. And as soon as you said that, you had a guest coming.
My man Bill.
As soon as you said that came in, and so Bill understands.
Between him and Eli Apple, I think those are probably my least 2.
Good one.
It's like first-round picks, man. Sure, some of these other guys weren't good and all that, but both those guys were what, top 10 picks, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe Flowers was 11th or something.
No. Unfortunately, I think he was 9th. I think unfortunately,
or maybe Apple was 11th.
Both were ridiculous reaches. Bad attitudes, immature, absolute reaches. Jerry Reese loved to let people know who he wanted so other people could get them ahead of him, and then not have a backup plan, not trade back, nothing. Just be like, I guess we're stuck, and then pick a player. That didn't go very well for him. And I'll also throw in Kenny Golladay in there just because, man, that was so bad.
I'm going to throw Nate Solder in there as well.
Here's why I don't throw Nate Solder as much as everybody else. Because granted,
he didn't quit on us.
Yeah, he tried. I feel like he at least tried. I know that doesn't mean much in production.
Yeah,
I
can respect it though.
Sure, I can respect the fact that he actually tried, and his contract was due to market demands. They were going back and forth with the Patriots. Kenny Golladay, Dave Gettleman was like, "Here, take the blank check. What do you want?"
He was negotiating against himself.
Here you go. Dave went to Mirror and just started talking to himself and came up with that number. And it was like, all right, you win, Mirror Dave.
I thought he was going to be great for us, so I can't.
We all did. I was excited. I'm happy to be wrong that I was excited. I wanted him on the team because I love the skill set. I love the size. I loved what he did with Matt Stafford. I was like, cool. But when he came here, aside from not physically being ready, when he was on the field, they didn't even target him. Maybe the report didn't kick off with Jones, whatever it was. They didn't even look his way. It's like there was no trust there. Nothing was built. Was it the chemistry? No one knows. Nothing personal against Kenny Golladay, but he's going to go down as probably one of the worst free agent signings because he gave you nothing on a lot of money, like a lot of money.
Is there I don't get to talk to Giants fans all that often except for my dad. So I talk to viewers, but it's different face-to-face. I have an answer. Is there a Giant that you thought when they got drafted was going to be a stud and not necessarily a bust, but didn't live up to what you thought?
Oh, man, there's probably so many guys like that.
There's one, though, and then I was a kid at this point. And I remember.
Throw out the name.
Norris
Moss, Santana Moss's brother. No, I didn't think he was going to be anything.
I thought he was going to be the real deal, man.
Yeah. The Sonoris Moss thing had too much to do with Santana Moss. There was too much. You'll be like your brother more than what you were actually like.
100%.
I'll tell you, not drafted, but the one guy that we got in free agency that I loved and I wish he would have been a long term instead of 1 year was Martellus Bennett. I thought Martellus Bennett was an excellent pickup. I wanted Martellus Bennett for the long term because I think he was the perfect tight end for what we needed. He was complete. He could block. He can go run. He could do it all. The fact that he just got his 1 year balled out left, I was like, that's what I didn't want. So a free agent that I wish we would have had a little bit more of was Martellus Bennett. I know that doesn't answer your question about the draft where I thought, But I'd really have to think about that draft one where I was like, I got high hopes and this guy just missed. Maybe it'll be somebody from last year's draft. Maybe
Yeah.
who I have high hopes for so far, and we just don't know. Darian Beavers. I'm
Yeah.
a Beavers guy. I loved what he did last year in the preseason. Guy was flying. I was at that Bengals game when he got hurt. I was very sad. He looks healthy. I thought he would have been ILB2 already, but if he's not, we'll see. I mean, is he going to beat out McFadden? Is it a sub package thing where it doesn't matter how how it's going to go? Because I would say Beavers is more of an ILB2 than McFadden, where McFadden can give you pass rush ability. That's not what you want Beavers for. Beavers sideline to sideline, lays wood, he'll hurt you. Big old school linebacker, 6'5", 250, 260, old school big guy.
Big run stuffer.
Yeah, very old school. So I would say right now, Darian Beavers is a guy that I'm hoping pans out. And if he didn't, then I just missed completely on that one. Outside of that, this is funny. Somebody brought up Ron Dane, and Ron Dane was just fat and slow with no power.
So when he went to the Texans, I grew up in Houston, obviously. I said that earlier, not obviously, but my dad used to get season tickets through work, and we would go to Texans games. I remember Ron Dane threw out his arm, a little arm pad, and I got that. I thought it was the coolest thing in the world.
That's pretty cool. Did you keep it?
I think it's probably gone in the trash. I was just a kid. What do you think of Kayvon Thibodeau?
In what way? Do you mean like as a person, as a football player, as a
Does he ever live up to the number 5 overall pick in an NFL draft?
So there's a lot of hype on him, and his hype is half his own fault and half his tape, right? His tape is excellent. He has really good tape. He's worthy of, a top pick that he was, and he's in conversation for best pass rusher. Even if you look at his season within context, again, you go post at MCL, you take away the slow start, the guy came on, lights were bright, the Washington game, got big sacks. And I'm not just going to isolate strictly the Washington game because it's one game, fine. But for one man to dominate in a game where you have to is telling enough. And he made plays outside of that. So I think year 2 is going to be pretty big for him and Aziz. Aziz is health dependent, and that's it. Because what he's done in his 2 seasons, if he would have been healthy, he's 12 sacks last year if he's healthy.
I was going to say, I think Aziz at this point is better than Kayvon.
Yes, that's fair. That's absolutely fair. That's absolutely fair, and I won't get mad at anybody for saying that. Guy in year 3 is better than guy going into year 2, so no disagreement there.
Yeah.
He's got better bend, but that speed and first step that Kayvon has and the intelligence as well, that's probably where he wins on that battle. He's a very, very smart, cerebral type guy. So super excited to have him. Expecting really, really. So there's another one, right? If he doesn't pan out, oh man, give me a big old effing life, because how can he not pan out with what he brings to the table? Even if you start deep diving on a lot of his plays, So I'm kind of right here with what Ferries is saying here. Is I don't know if he's going to be like a terror as a pass rusher, but he's going to be extremely disruptive. And he's going to affect the game. And maybe that's a cop-out answer on my end, but I think for this year, he's got to give me at least 7 to 8 sacks. That's like the low bar where I go. Anything less, I'm going to go,
Just because, like, when you pick a pass rusher in the top 5, you're kind of expecting that guy to be a dominant force. And I'm not saying Kayvon can't be that. There were some games he popped. Loved the way he finished that Ravens game. Yep. Obviously loved the way he played against Washington both times.
Love the fact that he murdered Carson Wentz, or was it? No, it was Nick Foles. Sorry, he killed Nick Foles.
Yeah, the Snow Angels.
Sure, right next to his corpse. It was hilarious.
I just don't know if he's ever like, I don't
know. If he'll be like Khalil Mack.
Is he a Khalil Mack? Is he one of those? He's obviously not a Micah. That's unfair.
No. I would say his game needs to be more predicated towards an OC Umenyiora than a Michael Strahan. If you were doing just historical comparison, I want you to be more like OC, because you have the same first step and that speed that OC had. And OC really sharpened that tool on his get off, and that's what made him great. The fact that he knew how to get off on the ball. And you saw that this season when he blew by Iquanu.
Yeah, blew right by him.
People, Iquanu wasn't ready. No, Iquanu wasn't ready because the first step was too fast.
The first step was too fast. Third down, they got the third down, but Kayvon got a QB hit again.
Yep. So
He's
I'm,
there.
I'm with you. If that first step is now coming into play, which is starting to look like it is, I think he'll turn into that kind of nightmare that we want him to be.
I hope.
But if he doesn't, then I'm kind of with you. I'm absolutely still
I don't
completely
ever see him being a bust.
no chance. No,
I
not at
just
all.
I
Because
kind
he
of
does too
question the
much.
form.
Because he does too much to be a bust, right?
Yeah,
He's chasing guys down 40 yards down the line. He's
love that
setting the
play.
edge. Yeah, he's setting the edge. He's a gamer. Teammates love him. We were getting reports that this guy doesn't love football, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Where is this coming from? The guy's clearly a lifer. Just because he likes, to do other things, we start criticizing people for having hobbies.
Yeah. I liked what
I
he
like
said.
that Darius agrees. I also see, again, it's that first step really gives me those OC vibes.
Yeah. Um, you, you need Kayvon and Evan Neal to be foundational pieces, man. And I
100%.
think they can be. I think they can be.
100%. So I was at a point where maybe I was setting the bar too low for Evan Neal, right? I was like, if he's just average, I'm happy. But I feel like that the bar is too low. I picked you 7. You got to be better than average.
You got to be good.
You got to be good, right? So maybe I was setting the bar too low. Maybe that's on me where I was like, nah, you know what? If you're average 15, 16, I'll
Well,
be okay.
maybe I would say, can you be average this year and then take a step going into year 3?
That's fair. That's fair. I can't put it all onto year 2. That's agreeable. But within your rookie contract by year 3, I'm with you. You got to give me at least top 12, right? I feel like that's a
I
fair.
think after year 3, we need to be like, that's our right tackle of the future.
Yes.
And if not,
Oof, that's going to be a little bit of a setback. That's a tough
yeah,
setback because again, top 7 pick. You had 2. You need to hit on those. Now, if you subsequently hit on a backup right tackle and that's supplemented, that'll save you a little bit because hey, listen, I swap him out, cool, no harm, no foul. But he needs to be the guy. And I'm
yeah,
hoping now year 2 playing the same position. Again, Alabama, he never played the same position twice.
yeah, he switched every year.
He hasn't played the same position since high school. So I'm hoping at least some repetition, having just that. Listen, I only need to solely focus on this will be good for him. He just needs to get his feet to move, man. He's huge. Just move those feet. He'll be all right because he's strong enough. That's a
Yeah,
non-issue. His strength is not an issue.
yeah, no, that's a good point.
Yeah.
I believe in him. We need him, that's for sure.
I'm dying for him. Who's your X factor on both sides of the ball? And give me the non-brand name. Don't give me the Jones. Don't give me the Barkley. Who's
Yeah.
the other guy on both sides of the ball that people are maybe not be talking or singling out that you're like you've got to make a difference?
Let's go on offense. I kind of want to cheat and have 2, but I'll go 1.
No, man. This is your platform. Give me 2. Give me 2.
What happens if John Michael Schmitz has like a Creed Humphrey type rookie year and we like end the year and he's like, he might be a top 5, top 6 center in this league?
And we didn't even name him. That's such a valid point. We've just glanced over the hog molly, but you're 100% right.
And he's been great, and that's the life of the O lineman. You don't get the credit.
That's
So I'll
true.
go with the flashy guy next.
I love it.
What if Darius Slayton takes another step? Like, I was calling for Darius Slayton to be cut last year. I was reading the tea leaves. I was listening to what people were saying. Obviously, he was going to get cut because he took a pay cut. But every year, somehow, except for one, I think it was his 3rd year, he has been kind of the go-to guy for Jones down the field.
Yeah.
And what about now?
The only down the field threat.
Yeah. What you put Waller on one side, Campbell on one side, and you go Slayton on the other side by himself, and there's no top on the defense. He's going to run by that guy like he did in the Jacksonville game this year, right down the right sideline.
Yeah.
Supposedly Slayton has looked like the best receiver at camp. It's just camp, so don't want to, go.
Plus, he's got years of rapport and chemistry that has to play a part with Jones. They know what they're thinking.
Yeah. So like if Darius Slayton, like he was solid last year, got to give him his props. If he takes a step forward again and he becomes maybe close to an 850 yard receiver, I think that'd be special. So I'll go Slayton and Schmitz as my 2 X factors,
like
non-Hollywood names. On defense, I really do think it's Leonard Williams, man, because you're going to get Sexy Dexy being a beast. You're going to get sacks from Leonard, Kayvon Thibodeau, and Azeez Ojulari. If the big cat can be a guy that takes advantage of getting single teams while Dexter Lawrence is getting double teams and he can win those matchups, this front four can be the best front four in the NFL, in my opinion. And I think it all kind of rests on 99's shoulders.
And you know what? I agree with that take 100%. I don't even think you're like remotely off. If that, if we're talking about 4 different cogs, if all the cogs are on, you can't help but be productive in that standpoint, because then you can't double everybody.
You can't double everybody. And Wink is going to come up with these magical blitzes coming from every angle. So
sure. I expect a lot of safety blitzes from Pinnock to drop Belton and McKinney back, and they've been fine. They've been fine in coverage. They have the speed to play. Both can play free safety. Like, they had Dane Belton on the island numerous times last season. He didn't get beat at free safety.
Nope.
McKinney rarely, if ever, gets beat at free safety. So they've got the pieces, and Wink's going to keep adding those wrinkles. So I will say this about going back to your Slayton and JMS. In a 3-by-1, right, you isolate Waller.
Yeah.
Right? On the other side, you got a combination of Slayton, Campbell, Hyatt, Hodgins, whichever 3 you want to pick, right? What are your DBs doing in that scenario where you have 4-4-4 guys? How's your defense shading? Are you going to give Waller the one-on-one or shade the safety over? And now you got 3-on-2 with nothing but speed coming at you. Someone's running a go route. Someone's absolutely running a go route, and someone's absolutely clearing underneath. What are you doing here, right? That is the kind of pressure you need to put on the defense to take that next step.
That's why, I tweeted it out, and I used a clip from somebody on Twitter. That play where Waller dropped it, drop, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, sure.
Hyatt on that left slot, opposite side of the field, runs deep, skinny post and opens the whole middle for him, because the 2 safeties see 84 on the field, and the defensive coordinator is yelling, 84 is on the field, which means your first steps have to be back. And that just opens the field up.
And if you take your eyes off of him, you're going to get that deep pass that Tyrod had. Just throw it up. Go get it, young man.
Well, yeah, Russell Wilson moon ball. that was great.
That was up there forever. I was like, I'm surprised that even came down, and how the safety didn't recover. It felt like it was in the air for 20 years. He just literally lobbed it.
Yeah.
But like I said, that's a very good one where Slayton, like you said, kudos to him, man, to go from not getting snaps and inactive and healthy to making differences. And again, being on to move to the next play. With Slayton, he just has to cut some of those big drops, some of the big ones, right?
Just catch the ball.
He ends up with like 6 or 7. Get down to 3. Yeah. And like that Minnesota drop, that can't happen.
And
can't happen.
I bet. I kind of picked up on this. It was early in training camp, so I'm sure it's changed by then. Slayton was being interviewed by somebody, and they asked him about the rookies, and they got to Hyatt. He's like, "What have you talked about Hyatt getting ready for the NFL?" And this was early training camp. Sure. He was like, "I haven't really talked to him all that much about stuff like that." And I'm not saying he's doing this, but he knows that 84 is there to take his job in 2 years.
Yeah.
And there's something to be said for when a professional athlete thinks they're being replaced. I think this could be a big season for Slayton. And shoot, if we get to have a good Slayton and a good Hyatt, happy for you.
Yeah, because all you do is just like I said, this will probably kill you if you're a fantasy football person. But in reality, you're just swapping speed for speed and keeping the defense gassing on their heels. Because who's substituting their number 1 cornerback for a number 3 cornerback? No one's doing that. You just got to stay on the field. You got to make the play. But guess what? I'll swap out 4-4 for 4-4.
Yeah, Slayton goes deep. Doesn't get the ball, put Hyatt on that same corner, then send him deep and make him run 150 yards on 2 plays.
Yeah, and then you take the 4'3", 6 foot, 6'1", 200-pound Paris Campbell, who again, I
am very intrigued by Paris Campbell.
He's very intriguing. One healthy season. He's been relatively healthy so far, knock on wood, right? Yeah. Man, all the talent, OSU, man, they churn out, and the talent is there. The hands are there. Not a drop machine. Can run routes. Big and physical. Pretty sure you can move him to the outside in the package if you wanted to, and still take advantage of something. There's going to be so much availability of how they're going to run this offense between 12 personnel and, again, outside of that. I always go to 12 personnel because I want Wall and Bellinger there all the time, simply because you can't lose with that match. I just don't see them losing with that matchup.
That puts defenses in a bind because you got to go heavy set personnel.
Have to.
And it's like those guys can beat any linebacker on routes. Like,
Yeah, when you put in that when you put in that ILB too, what's he gonna do in that case?
Yep, I agree, man. And like, no, we haven't talked about him much, and it's not to disrespect the kid, but Wan'Dale Robinson, he had a 100-yard game before he tore his ACL.
Yes, it looked like
second round pick.
My thing with Wan'Dale is I feel like he came on a little bit too late. Like it was game 6 or 7 before he kind of picked up. Everything between was little.
He had that knee injury before.
He did have that little hiccup. So that's the thing, right? It's so hard to be objective and fair to a player who's injured. How do I? How do I? I need just a little bit more. So I'm with you. I'm not rushing Wan'Dale at all because number one, I don't think there's room. I was just saying there isn't room for him.
You don't have to rush him.
You don't have to. There's no reason to. But if he's ready and the horses are ready to go out the gates, I'm not saying no to it. Yeah. But I would be okay with taking my time and making sure he's 100% ready. I don't want the Shep scenario where God bless Shep's soul, but he gets hurt as quickly as he heals. The guy heals like a magician, but he gets hurt like one too.
Like, what if he's good and healthy?
Oof.
Because I still do kind of believe that, like, he's our best receiver if healthy. Technically, like, best. No, Shepard.
Oh, Shep. Yeah, 100%, man. Shep's like, a dog, bro.
Like, if he's healthy, I mean, he's got the best chemistry with Jones. Yeah. He's the vet. We've seen him cooking the kids in one-on-ones in practice.
He murdered Trey Hawkins in that one clip. Oh, it was so bad. It was so bad. I was like, that route would murder just about everybody.
I'm at the point with Shepard. I expect nothing, but like everything he gives you is going to be awesome.
Sterling Shepard could probably never play another snap again, and he's going to be like a cult Giants phenomenon guy that people will be saying. People are going to say, I don't care if he played one snap in 7 years, put him in the Ring of Honor. That's how much people love Shep because his attitude, his work ethic, it's incredible. How can you not respect him?
He won me over last year. I've always been a huge Shep guy.
Sure.
Dude, it's so easy to quit on your team when you have a season-ending injury. Shoot, some teams don't even expect you to go to the games, be on the sideline, be none of that. That dude bleeds Giants blue, and that means a lot to me. It does.
Yeah, I mean, you love that level of that's how much I love this team scenario. But yeah, man, even when he's healthy, you could put him in. That's what I'm saying. You can just keep fresh legs from a fantasy standpoint. Yeah. Again, sucks to be you, but from an actual game standpoint, I would hate to be a defense where I can keep rotating 4 guys who can run routes.
Yeah,
because I wouldn't know how to consistently stop that. But with the Wan'Dale thing, even with there was one point where we had like 18 slot receivers. Even right now, Cole Beasley, Hyatt, Jamison Crowder, Paris Campbell, and you go, why do these guys keep going for slot guys, just not the big ones? I think as far as Kafka and Daboll are concerned, it's all about spacing, and I don't think size matters in any form. If you can create space, that's all they care about. I'm 100% on board that they strictly care about one thing. Can you create space and get to the ball? And after that, it's all about yak. It's 100% yak based, which I'm fine with. But yeah, Paris Campbell almost becomes, and Jay Ferry said this about him, that he can play running back too. Yeah, he was clocked as the fastest running back last season. Paris Campbell is going to do what we probably wanted and hoped Kadarius Toney could do from that standpoint. A little bit more gadgety, out of the backfield, can probably throw the ball. I assume all athletes can throw a football 30 to 40 yards because they just can, right? Yeah. Not as accuracy, but just be able to. But Paris Campbell can have a lot of value. And guess what? He's only on a 1-year deal. So if he balls, you probably just let him go if you have a replacement guy in between, right? So he might just be here for this year alone.
I am so interested to see how they are going to juggle all these wide receivers. Because, it's like you could almost have like a package of receivers that play from the 20 to the 20, and then a package of receivers that play from the red zone.
Yes.
Like Hodgins needs to be on the field in the red zone. I don't know if he necessarily needs to be on the field every play on from the 20 to 20. His route running, his size in the red zone is awesome. But like you said, if you can trot out there, imagine you go 12 personnel, right? Mm-hmm. And you still have like the fast receivers out there and Slayton and Campbell, and you mix a Hyatt in there.
And then you got Bellinger leaking out with nobody, who again is a very underrated athlete.
He is. He is.
Wildly underrated athlete.
Remember was it the Packers game where he had the end around where he was going to throw it and he touched it
and he decided to just keep going.
Yeah, dude. I'm getting amped up talking about this offense right now.
And
we have been living in turmoil right now.
Someone just says, who's the X factor? It might be an Isaiah Hodgins or a Paris Campbell, because for as fast as Isaiah Hodgins is not, man, he just knows how to get open.
Yeah,
he knows how to get open, and that is
the
skill set where he can just get open, and he did it consistently, and he doesn't drop the ball, right?
Yeah,
good hands. He's the anti Kenny Galladay in that standpoint. All fair here. None of this matters if we can't block. That's 100%. That's been the case even when they were trying to supplement for Eli, and we were like, well, what's going to happen when he has 0.1 milliseconds? So 100%. But I have so much more confidence in the O-line. I'm not worried about AT. I'm not worried about JMS even as a rookie. I'm not as worried about Neal as other people. Glowinski is a worry in pass pro, but he's never been a great pass pro guy. I don't know what's happening at left guard, man. All these rotation things is upsetting to me. I'm not a fan of this stuff.
I'm not a fan of a rotation.
And I saw somebody's tweet, and you could chime on. This is the second New England Patriots coach who's doing the same thing, right? Joe Judge did the guard rotations and the O-line rotation.
Good point.
Brian Daboll's a Pats guy. He's also doing these. I don't know why they do this. I don't know if it's a good thing. Nobody else is really doing it, so I'm assuming it's not a great thing. I just need my lifer guys, right? I want my guy to just be, you're my left guard. Go out and do it for 17 games.
Because just think about it, like, it doesn't even have to be football. In any walk of life, whatever you do for work, whatever you do, it's about confidence and it's about momentum. Like, how are you supposed to build up and be ready to go if it's like, all right, I played one series, now I got to go sit?
Right. And the best way I can do it is because, I was never good enough to play football to that level. But, it's like basketball, right? The sixth man is hard. It's hard to come off the bench and just produce.
Because you're expected to do it.
You're expected to. So now if I say, hey, you know what, Izudu, you're starting, it's been a quarter. All right, Bredesen, your turn for the next quarter. What tough. Is Bredesen? Cold. Broska, I don't care how much you sit on a bike and how much you stretch. That's not the same as game action. It never will be. Never. So now you come in cold, and it's just like, okay, now Izudu's going to get cold. Is he supposed to come back? These kind of things. That's the part that I probably haven't spoken about the most. That's probably the most confusing is I don't know what they're going to do with the O-line, with the guard spots, and I'm not a fan of the rotation thing. If it works out great, I'm just not a fan.
Yeah. If I had to guess, I think they're going to go with Bredesen at left and Glowinski at right. That would be my guess, which is upsetting because Izudu was a top 75 pick.
Yep.
Those guys are supposed to produce by year 2. So
now the question with Izudu is he still working through the rust of the neck injury? And now this is an extension of his rookie year. So when Glowinski's gone next year, Izudu's in spot, and now you're either looking for a new guy or is Bredesen in the final year or he flips to right guard? Whatever the case may be, maybe you take another guard because Bredesen was traded from the Ravens 2 seasons ago, and I think he was in his first year or second year, so he's probably coming up.
I think he's only like 25.
He's very young. I just don't know what his contract says.
Yeah,
but from that standpoint, I know they obviously drafted Izudu because they wanted to play. They wanted to be the starter. I don't know if Bredesen's just like, hey, listen, I'm better than you, and I'm keeping this. Sucks to be you. Or if he's still working through that whole injury. Again, we never got an update on that neck injury, right? Nope. He had a neck injury. We heard nothing. He didn't go on PUP, and now he's just back. But we never heard anything in between. I have no idea what happened to his neck.
Yeah.
No beat writers reported it. Joe Shane hasn't talked about it. It's almost like the most mysterious thing ever about an injury where no one's even asking about today. Hey, listen, what actually happened? Is there a long-term – like what's happening?
No, that's a good point.
It might be a scenario where he's still, again, extension of rookie season. Maybe he takes halfway, not sure. But as long as the top 5 start, ideally for me, I want AT. And I really like Bredesen. So I would go AT, Izudu, JMS, Bredesen, and then I'm going Neal. I thought Bredesen would be strictly left guard. I didn't think he would play much at right guard, but he's been getting snaps and he's doing well. If he can play both spots, I'm playing over Glowinski.
Yeah. I think the best 5
should play. Give me the youth. There you go. That's all it is. Give me the best 5. Forget your draft. Forget all that. Give me your best 5. But if Izudu isn't starting at some point, again, shame on Joe Shane. Because, again, you picked these guys early. I have expectations. You picked them
That's
very
what
high.
kind of worries me about last year's class. Like, I think Wandale's good. I hope Azudu's good.
Sure.
And I don't know if Cordell Flott's good. And those are all premium draft picks.
Yes. Yes.
And like, let's call a spade a spade. Glowinski was not worth the money.
No, that was the only free agent they could to try to improve. So now I know they had detriments and constraints. So even last year's class, it was a little bit of perhaps quantity over quality, perhaps.
You saw
Where
kind
this,
of opposite this year.
where this year, because you can't just keep rotating all your classes out and just keep replacing people, we
Yeah.
knew when they walked in with 10 picks or whatever, we knew where they were making all those picks. There's not enough spaces for it.
You can't add 21 rookies in the draft over
Or,
2
I mean, come on, man. You can't just supplement an entire team between two classes and say, hey, listen, no. I mean, you take shots and see what happens. But yeah, here we go. I think somebody said it, and it's the same guy, of course. It's my guy, Crypto Freeze. Even when Daniel Jones had that neck thing, we never heard about it other than
I
he's
was
got
going to bring that up. What happened there? He had the little scar now.
Yeah, and we just don't, we just don't know. So I hope Azudu's ready. I want him to be the guy because he's a mauler in the run game.
Got good feet.
He moves bodies, and he was actually getting a little bit better in pass pro as the games went. I was like, yes, we're hitting something. And then he got hurt, and I was like, New York Giants are going to New York Giants when it comes to the health department.
Yeah.
So
hoping that can change this year.
Yeah. All right. So last question before you go, because again, I'm sure you have a life too. Favorite Giants memory of last season? Favorite Giants memory overall? And just give me a moment. Don't give me a game. Give me a play. Give me a moment that just sticks with you.
Favorite Giants moment from last year.
Yeah.
Let's go. That's tough, man.
So work on your favorite all time. Come back to the last season.
I'm going to go last season, man. That Kayvon Thibodeau strip sack on Lamar Jackson. We weren't supposed to win that Ravens game. We came back in the fourth quarter, and it was our number 5 overall pick making a game-changing play against an NFL MVP. So I'll go that for that. Probably could have gone in a playoff game, but that would have been a little cliche for me. I'm an against the grain type of guy. So I'm gonna go Kayvon Thibodeau, strip sack against Lamar. That was awesome. Probably the most excited I got on the stream. But shoot, week 1 kick was also really up there too. So that one was fun. That might be a close second for me. All time, the Burris catch in the Super Bowl. Probably. Nice. I know the Manningham was awesome and the next one and the Tyree catch, but it was like when he caught that pass from Burris, young 13-year-old Marshall was like, we just won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that was a moment, man. That was a moment. So yeah, 100% with you. But yeah, for me, it's got to be that Manningham. For me, best pure skill throw in Super Bowl history.
So good.
And I'll take it against every other throw literally in history. That is the best pure skill throw in Super Bowl history versus potentially one of the best catches also. So that one play doesn't get enough love, but that's better than the Tyree play. It's better.
The only throw and catch that I think rivals that, and I think the Giants play is better, is the Roethlisberger to Santonio Holmes Super Bowl catch. I think that's the only one that comes close, and I still think the Giants is better.
And that only comes close. That comes close, I think, more on the wide receiver making the play than the Roethlisberger's throw. Not knocking his throw. I just think Santonio Holmes made a better play than the throw itself.
Eli put that in a bucket, cover 2, guy stuck with him. And
unbelievable, man. Ridiculous. Unbelievable. So just let people know where to catch you. Give them your spiel.
Yeah. I have one question for you, though, before we go.
Moi? Sure, go on.
What's your take on Saquon?
In which way? I'm a guy of context, right? So I don't answer questions to have more information. What do you got?
Do you? I guess I'm kind of asking a zoomed out question here.
Sure.
What should the Giants do with Saquon? What should they do?
Okay. So I'll give you I'll go back to your initial question of just my take, and I'll just give you my spiel of what's been happening, right? The market sucks to be him. That's just a positional issue. That's very unfortunate for all of them. Every running back is not replaceable. I fully, wholeheartedly agree. You can't just plug in anyone and say, be a Saquon, be a Derrick Henry. If it happened, then every single person would get turned out. There would never be a second contract. It's not real. He's in such a tough position because of his injuries and nothing else. He never gets hurt. We're not even having these convos. All right. What's going to end up happening, in my opinion, is he's going to get franchised again next season. They're going to have a conversation. I would lean towards still not getting a deal done. He's not going to hold out, not in his nature, not in anything. He plays on the franchise and then he's gone. He doesn't even discuss anymore. He's just out. I think it's going to be a one more year after this and then he's gone. That's my thought process.
Do you think they should give him a long-term deal?
Yes. Within respectful context and parameters? Absolutely.
Say he plays all 17 games this year, similar season to last year, you'd give him a multi-year deal?
Give me 3 years at 39 on the average. Give me 13 a year. On the guaranteed, he wanted at least 2 years. He wanted 22 on that 3. Give me 24, 8 a year. Throw incentives in there to make it better. But more importantly, I'm going to go back to what Carl Banks said. Don't discount the market you're in and your marketing and your brand and how much money you're going to make just off of that. You're not going to go to the Colts and make that money. You're not going to go to
OBJ.
Yeah, you're not going to go somewhere else and make money in the same market. That's going to happen. But in all honesty, I want him here long term. I think a 3-year deal, even a 4-year with an out after 3 is fine. But it's got to make sense dollar wise. I would love him long term. I mean, I'm not going to sleep on the player. He's so good. Last year, he was so good. He was so good. Does he look like he lost a step? Yes. After those injuries, not surprising. But so what? He's still getting the job done. It's not like he, ran for 4 yards. He almost had close to a career year last year, closer to 2018. Just didn't look as explosive because he didn't have the long touchdown runs. That's the only differentiation.
Yep.
But man, I absolutely want him back. I want him long term. I don't think it's going to happen. That's what my gut tells me. I don't think it's going to happen, but I want it to. I really think it's going to be franchise. He's not going to come in for camp. He'll report week 1. He'll play out the season, and then he's gone.
I think I agree with that. I love the guy. I love the way he represents our football team. I hate that we have to kind of take advantage of him, but it's a tool at this franchise's,
Sure.
Right?
Nobody loves the franchise tag. It's obviously not doing what was its main intention, to not lose people necessarily, because now it's, not only not lose you, I'm going to keep you no matter what and no matter how I treat you.
Agreed. Last one.
Yeah.
Record prediction.
Oof. Record prediction, I'm going to stick with what I saw initially because I haven't looked at it again, and I'm happy with my initial. I had them going 11-6.
I love that.
With that 11-6, I always, again, my whole life is based on risk assessment and everything. So there's always a margin of plus or minus, right? So that 11 could be 13, and I'm still happy that 11 ends up 9, and I can make sense of it because there's always going to be a margin of the same games that are going to break. That maybe broke for you last year, might not break for you this year. Yeah. So I would say 9 to 11 is the window, but gun to my head, win losses, I went 11-6, and I'm sticking to that.
Yeah, I got 10-7.
So I'm right there. Yes, I'm right there with you.
Right around there.
There's going to be losses where you're going to be like, that shouldn't happen. There's going to be wins where you're like, that shouldn't happen. I got them beating Philly one day. Well, out of these 2 games, I got them beating Philly. Matter of fact, I have them beating Philly in Philly on Christmas. I do. If they're all things being equal and they're healthy, right? Because I can't predict that. All things being equal and healthy, I got them beating Philly in Philly.
No, I don't need anything from Santa if that happens.
Santa's going to help because Santa's finally going to get his revenge from all those years ago.
Batteries.
He's going to help with the snowball batteries for those jerks. If you don't know, I hate everything Philly related.
Do you hate Cowboys or Eagles more?
Oh, not even a question.
Really?
Question. I despise the Philadelphia Pigeons. Like,
I think that's kind of the difference of you growing up north, me growing up down south.
That's all proximity, right? Like, yeah. So I live in South Jersey now too, which is so terrible. But I grew up in North Jersey, so even growing up in North Jersey, like right outside of New York, Philly was 90 minutes away. It's not like there's a huge proximity. That's why you have such a rivalry, not rivalry or beef wise, whatever. Nobody cares about Washington as much as they. Yeah. It's like just because they haven't been good enough to be in that conversation. So I don't worry about that. But yeah, definitely hate them so much more. Like I can actually deal with Cowboys fans just because at least they have a history to go off of. Sure, it's a delusional one, but at least they have one. Philly talks so much garbage for a team that has one Super Bowl victory in their franchise's history, multiple losses, and outside of that, is only notorious for bad headlines. That's it. Like,
Yeah.
what are we doing here? Like, what are y'all so proud about? What are you proud about? Climbing poles and licking them, eating dog turds? Like, what are you guys celebrating here? Having a jail in your stadium at some point? This is what y'all proud to be? That's a Philly thing.
Yeah.
I have to keep that, man. That's garbage to me.
Love that. Love
Hate
that.
him. Hate him always. I've met like maybe 4 or 5 decent Philly fans in my lifetime. Maybe 4 or 5. And I grew up with like 2 of them probably.
Yeah.
Aside from that, like on the internet and at games or whatever, I've met like maybe 2 or 3 guys where I'm like, you know what? You're a decent person for an
You're
actual,
decent.
you're an actual decent person. Rest of them are mostly just trash, man.
I believe it, man. I believe it. I don't know many Philly fans,
Good for you.
but
That's how it should be. Keep it that way, man. You're
tell you
better
what,
off with Cowboys fans.
Cowboys fans are the bougie cousins that think they are just better than everybody, and we're living in their world.
Yeah, which is great for me because their world is just a flop every time. So whenever someone says we're America's team, I was like, look, if we're all happy to accept that America's a loser, I'm good with that title too. As long as we can all say that, you know what, America's one big loser, I'm cool with that title. Yeah, I could be America's team because you haven't won significant. I wouldn't even say championship. Remove that. Remove the championships to even back when the last championship is probably when you were born. So even if you remove that, when's the last time you even got to a championship game to compete to get to that step?
Long time.
So then what are we talking about?
Agreed. Brody, I appreciate you having me on, my man. This was a blast.
It was amazing. It was a good time. I would love to have you again throughout the
For
season.
sure.
We can just hopefully some of the things we've talked about we can rehash and be like, man, we were right, or oh man, we've been so wrong.
Yeah.
And that'll be a good time. But definitely make sure you catch Marshall on his YouTube, catch him on Twitter. Great follow, good interaction, good take. So make sure you keep up with him. And it was a pleasure having you. I appreciate you, man. Have a great night, and hopefully it's gonna be a great season.
Later, Brody. Let's go, G-Man.
All right, man. Thank you.